All right, we've been talking about Rishi Sunak's net zero U-turns, right, over the last day or so. But in this video, I'm going to go through a list of some of these policy changes and talk to you guys about the problem with the so-called U-turns. Okay, so if you're skeptical about net zero, the Prime Minister wants your support because he believes that you're going to fall for the trick of Rishi Sunak not going with the ultra targets of net zero. But if you're a supporter of net zero, he still wants your support because he wants you to believe that he's still committed to net zero. All right, so he's sitting on the fence. He's standing in the middle of the road, going to get hit by both sides. But I'm going to analyze this nonsense of a tweet. He said, "We will never impose unnecessary and heavy-handed measures on you, the British people. We will still meet our international commitments and hit net zero by 2050. So he's targeting two different demographics. And this is what it says. We're stopping heavy-handed measures, right? I looked at it. There are a few points. Taxes on eating meat. New taxes on to discourage flying. Basically, these items have gone. He's cancelled these measures. Sorting your rubbish into 7 different bins. Compulsory car sharing. Expensive installation upgrades. A new approach to reach net zero." So I looked at this and I was like, okay, some of them we have been talking about, some of these ideas, and we've been accused of being tinfoil hat nutters, conspiracy theorists, but because they're not actual government policy yet. Some of them have already been scrapped. So this is quite fascinating. Look at this. First claim, that the proposal for government to interfere in how many passengers you can have in your car. He said, "I've scrapped it," Rishi Sunak says. But that's false, because it's not a policy change. The government guidance from 2022 suggests that a matching up of lifts between drivers and passengers who share a common or similar route has the potential to significantly reduce emissions from travel. That's what the guidance says, right? The plan suggested that local authorities could promote lift sharing schemes for staff, residents and businesses. But there was never any suggestion that this would be in any way compulsory. So that's interesting. So channels like mine, we've been talking about these plots for the future, these plans for the future from all these globalist leaders. And when we've been saying this, they've been accusing us of being conspiracy theorists, right? But we haven't claimed that these things are currently legislation. We haven't said that yet because they're not currently compulsory, including this car sharing thing. But we've been warning people, including Sadiq Khan's paper mile road charges idea, or the national government's this sort of nonsense. We've been warning about it, that this could come at some point in the future. When we said that, they attacked us. But the Prime Minister is claiming, pretending that this is an existing legislation and he's scrapped it. No. You're lying to the public. Next one. Rishi says, "The proposal that we should force you to have 7 different bins in your homes. I've scrapped it." Again, that's false. There was no proposal that Brits should be required to have 7 different bins. The claim appears to originate from headlines in Daily Mail. This was, again, one of the ideas that we talked about as well, that these ideas have been discussed in Davos and other places. They're not here yet, the policy, but they could at some point in the future, so we have to stop it before it happens. But Rishi Sunak pretends that this already exists, the proposal, and I've scrapped it. What? You can't scrap something that you haven't actually proposed yet. So they're playing with us. They think we're stupid. But channels like mine are here to fact check the fact checkers. Anyway, regulations that passed into law in 2021 obviously already stipulate the local authorities that should arrange for collection of paper, plastic, metal and glass on top of regular collections for non-recyclable food waste and garden waste and everything else. There's no suggestion that the bin would be provided for every household for each one of them for now. But be careful, in the future this stuff is going to come. There's another claim from Rishi Sunak. The proposal to make you change your diet and harm British farmers by taxing meat, or to create new taxes to discourage flying or going on holiday. I've also scrapped those, Rishi says. This is another set of policy ideas that we've been warning the country about, that these globalists are going to be introducing them at some point because they've been talking about them, but they're not in place yet. But Rishi Sunak is again pretending that these are in place already, the proposals, and he's scrapping them. He's saying Well, it's not a policy change. Successive Tory leaders have repeatedly rejected suggestions that meat should be taxed, and no frequent flyer tax has been seriously mooted. In 2021, a document was mistakenly published by the Department for Business, Energy and Industry Strategy, BEIS, commissioned by third-party academics from the Behavioural Insights team, which said that Britons should be encouraged to cut down on flying and eating ruminant meat and dairy. The policy paper suggests that it disincentivizes basically high taxes, maybe the most effective for frequent business flyers, but warned that, for example, an unsophisticated meat tax would be highly regressive. Even they didn't fully suggest it. But we've been warning about this because one day they're going to bring all this stuff in place, but do not fall for the Prime Minister pretending that he's scrapping these ideas. All right, this one is interesting. Rishi's team says, under current plans, some property owners would have been forced to make expensive upgrades in just 2 years' time for a semi-detached house in Salisbury. You could be looking at a bill of £8,000. That's just wrong. So those plans will be scrapped. That's a little bit misleading. Technically, it's correct, obviously, in terms of some property owners. But here it disguises the fact that this policy would have applied only to landlords letting out homes with poor energy efficiency ratings. So obviously the net zero nonsense have these restrictions for the homes that have poor energy efficiency ratings, not the ones who have already obeyed to the net zero cult. So if you already have good energy efficiency ratings, that doesn't apply to you anyway. And also, if you're not letting out your homes. So it's just everything is basically a lie with this Prime Minister and Downing Street. But I mean, it was quite a smart move as a gamble to take advantage of this leak. I'm still not convinced that this was a leak. I think it was a self-leak to get some media attention and to protect. Because if you do self-leak, you can control the narrative. Seems like everything was being managed by Downing Street since this leak. Yeah, it wasn't really that destructive, was it? But it's backfiring now. Oh, these little kids running our government. Let me know what you think. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.